In this video, I'm going to show you how to create custom pop-ups. So I'm going to navigate to my website by clicking the View Your Website button. That's going to take me to the home page, and we have a button over here that says Start for Free. I'm going to start by changing this to Learn More. And when someone clicks that, I want to open up a pop-up that allows them to download an information pack. Now, you may want to have an opt-in process where they opt in and then you send them information via email. That's beyond the scope of this video. Right now, I just want to show you how to create custom pop-ups. So I'm going to keep it really simple and just allow the person to download some information. So we have our button, it says Learn More, but now we need to link it to a pop-up. And to create a pop-up, you go to the pop-ups menu in the control bar on the left-hand side, click on that, and you'll see all the pop-ups we've created, none at this point, and you click the Add Pop-up button at the bottom. Once you've done that, you can choose from a template. I'm going to choose this one over here. So we have an image on the one side, and on the other side, we've got the ability to download something from a button and update some content. Now, here's the great thing about our pop-up builder. The pop-up builder is the exact same as the page builder. You can think of the pop-up itself like a block. Inside of the pop-up block, you have rows, and inside of those rows, you have columns. And you can control the columns and the rows, etc., the exact same way that you can control them inside of the website itself. So now that I've showed you that this button exists, you already know everything you need to know in order to design a pop-up. So I'm not going to go through showing you how to add content and how to clone things and move things, etc. You already know how to do all of that. I'm just going to show you pop-up specific settings and set up a little example pop-up here. So I'm going to go to the column, and you can see there's a background on this column. So I'm going to go to the background and just change it to our theme. I'll go to Unsplash. Then I'll search for tech, find something that is appish. Okay, here's a creepy picture. Let's use that. All right, so we got ourselves a picture on the one side, and download our info pack. Again, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time customizing this. I'm just going to tweak it slightly to be on theme. So I'm going to put in our color over here. So now we have a pop-up that kind of matches the vibe of our website. Now let's talk a little bit about settings that are specific to the pop-ups, because columns and rows and content and buttons and images, all of that stuff works the same as the normal page builder. And just think about how powerful that is. You can literally build a full website inside of a pop-up. Anything that you want to do, anything that you could do on a web page, you can now do in a pop-up. Now, let's talk about the pop-up specific settings, or a couple of things that would be potentially useful for you to know. You can change the size of this pop-up. So let's say you want the pop-up to fill the screen. You can set the height of the pop-up to 100%. And that's going to, well, I have done that in the wrong place. That's the row. Let's go to the pop-up. You can set the height of the pop-up to 100%. And that's going to make your pop-up take up the entire space, top to bottom. So if you want one of those high impact pop-ups that maybe a person's on your website for a while and you put something over their entire screen, you can do that by setting the height. And you'd probably want to set the width as well. So change it to percentage. And then maybe you'd want to go to the align and put this in the middle. And you'd probably want to customize it a little bit more from there. But the point is, you can make this take over the entire screen, and you could design this however you want. So that's the one thing that is kind of pop-up specific that you might be interested in doing. I'm just going to undo all of that. The other thing that's pop-up specific is the overlay, the background overlay. So you'll see over here that it's black. You could change the overlay to a different color. You could, for example, make the overlay purple so that it covers the whole background with our accent color. That might be a bit intense, so you might want to change the opacity. So you might want to have a purple overlay like this, for example. I would be more inclined to keeping it the black in this case, but let's do it just so that we're using a few more features. Another thing you can update is the design of the close button, which is a times, and we can make it bigger. So that's over here, and we can change the color and, change which icon. you're going to use to close the pop-up. We're going to leave it with a standard times. Maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger. That's too big. We're going back. Let's leave it at 21. So there is the close button, and then you can also update the trigger. So when do you want this thing to appear? Well, the one option is for it to appear when the page loads. So you can say when the page loads, wait a certain amount of time, and then display it. You can make it wait a little bit longer. You can say wait here 62 seconds, but you can also do minutes or hours. So you could say if a person's on the page for more than 5 minutes, then display this pop-up. You can also specify frequency. So it will only show once per 60 minutes, or an easier way of doing that would be to say once per hour. So every hour it's going to repeat this. If the person's still on your website in an hour, it's going to repeat. Obviously, if you don't want it to repeat, you can just set it to basically an amount that is greater than they'll spend on the page, and that's an option too. You can also make it appear on exit intent. So if a person is about to exit your page, you can trigger it there as well. But for us, we want this to be triggered by a button, so I'm not going to actually trigger it. Those are the basic settings, and again, play around with it. All of the stuff you've already learned about. You know about borders, you know about spacing and padding and margin, you know about backgrounds. So you can control the design of this using all the insight that you gained building your website. So I'm going to publish this. Then I'm going to close out of the settings. To exit the pop-up, you can click Exit Pop-up Editor. And we now have our pop-up over here. And so if I wanted to edit it again, I could just go back to pop-ups and I can click on it, and that's going to bring it up so I can edit it again. But I don't want to edit it. I'm going to close out of it. I'm happy with the design. So what I need to do now is link this button to that pop-up. So when someone clicks on the button, it opens the pop-up. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to right-click. I'm going to go to Settings, and here's our button module. I'm going to go into this particular Learn More button. Then I'm going to go to the redirect, and instead of redirecting to a URL, I'm going to redirect to a pop-up, and I'm going to choose the new pop-up that we created. I didn't give it a name. I should have. It is possible to name it, but it's called new pop-up for now. So I'm going to link it to that, and you can see a preview of that pop-up. I'm going to save that, or publish it rather. It auto-saves, and I'm going to close out of that. Now, if I click on this button, it's going to allow me to edit it. So what I need to do is go into view mode and then click on the button, and you'll see that that now triggers the pop-up. So anything that you can imagine, anything that you can build into your website, you can build into a custom pop-up.